Hey everybody, this is Nathan Sanders from Arcane Duels, and we are on episode 7? Yes, 7. So today I'm going to be building another spellbook, and we're going to build this thing because we're not able to get around to filming an episode of a match today, but that's okay because pretty soon we'll have a couple matches ready for you guys, so fret not. So anyway, today I'm going to... I recently listened to the Mage Wars podcast, and they were focusing on the priest and a priestess, and I thought, you know, heck, why not? Let's build a priestess to go along with that. So, yeah, so let's go ahead and start this. Alright, this guy I'm going to call the Lifewell Priestess. Boom. And basically the focus on this one is to become that mage that it's really annoying to watch a priestess, especially who sits in a corner and turtles and then just heals herself over and over again because she's really just delaying the inevitable. Instead, I'm going to focus on a priestess that does do healing, but mostly focuses on healing herself, and does this as basically just a means to survive, all the while her creatures are actually doing the damage. So that is basically the premise behind the mage. At the same time, I'm calling it the Lifewell because it's going to use the Sunfire Amulet and her basic ability. So every time she's healing, she's also gaining life, making her tougher and tougher to kill. Of course, just let's keep focused that the object is not to just gain a lot of life; it is to kill the opponent mage. So we're going to let's go ahead and create something, huh? If you remember, I talked about, let's go ahead and go spellbook sets. You know what, I'm just going to add 2 of everything because, you know, I may have 2 of everything at this point, and it's just really annoying to see the limitations on the deck, and the spellbook builder gets a little janky sometimes, so... Cool, so I've added in all that stuff, and let's go to the focus of the deck, shall we? As we mentioned before, Sunfire Amulet is pretty important because she's going to be gaining life every turn. We're just going to do one of those. If they do manage to dissolve it, at that point it's really not a huge deal. Like, it's kind of a focus of the deck, but really if it's destroyed, it's not the end of the world. And we're not going to waste our mana and time making another one. So, 1 Sunfire Amulet. The next thing is that the mage needs to be able to heal herself all the time, and so to pull this off, we're actually going to throw some Mage Wands in there. And the idea here is we're going to use the Mage Wand, and we're going to bind healing spells to it. I'm thinking Minor Heal is a good one. It's just cheap, it's easy to do all the time, and as I said, you're healing yourself for 5 dice of damage, which is pretty efficient as far as mana goes. And with the Mage Wand, you're able to do it to yourself constantly. We're going to do 2 of those just in case it does get dissolved. If they do get dissolved, both of them, then we have a contingency plan. We'll just back up on some more healing. Of course, you know, once again, healing to the idea that the object is still to defeat the opponent mage, and not just be a jerk and turtle and heal all the time. So we have the basic idea of healing. We have the Sunfire Amulet, and her ability is every time she casts a holy every time she casts a holy enchantment, or reveals a holy enchantment, or casts a holy incantation, she gains a life. So she just becomes tougher and tougher to kill as time goes by. So that's her divine reward right there. And restore is just a nice ability to have. What it does mean is we don't have to bother with any healing wands. So I guess that's nice. And the fact that she can remove conditions from all the conditions from a creature if she so chooses by spending the mana. I don't think mana is really going to be a huge issue for her if she's spending just light amounts of mana healing herself. So speaking of healing, let's go ahead and get onto that. Incantation, holy. Oh, still selecting mage. All right, cool. So as we said, minor heal is kind of the thing. We need at least 2 to bind to the wand, so I'm going to do, you know what, I'm going to do 3. It's nice just to have an extra one in there in case it does get dissolved, or if we didn't have the chance to cast the Mage Wand yet, we can still throw down a heal. So 3 minor heals is probably a good choice there. Heal, as we're talking about heavy creatures, I think heal is actually, the regular heal is actually going to be more for our creatures rather than it is for our mage. And that's going to be our way of keeping our creatures alive, because they're really our source of damage. So let's go ahead and just for now I'm going to throw a 3 in. I'm probably going to take 1 out, but group heal is always really nice. It basically, imagine you know how effective Ring of Fire can be, things like that. Except for it affects it only costs 9 mana, and it affects just all the creatures in a zone. And it's actually 0 to 1 zone, which is really nice. That doesn't mean that you have to stay within that zone, which means you don't have to move to cast it in case you are not in the same zone as your creature. So we're going to throw 1 in. And that's good for that. Lay Hands, good, heals 12 dice of damage for only 9 mana, with the downside that it cannot be on the mage, so that's really the trade-off, and it's 3 spell points to add in, but you know what, 12 dice of damage, hard to argue with, so we'll do that. Purify is absolutely pointless, because her basic ability just does that for us, and Resurrection, not part of the main, the first phase of building this deck, so we might come back to it. Still in phase 1, we have to talk about our creatures now. We're going to want some tough creatures, ones that are going to be able to absorb a lot of hits and at the same time deal some damage. So Azrain Defender, I really like this guy. He's basically a Knight of Westlock light. He has a small chance to dodge. He has 2 armor, 8 health, and 3 dice of damage. Really, you can throw one of these guys down every turn, and that's pretty nifty. But I'm not sure if I would consider that like the main point of the deck. We're going to stick with Knight of Westlock. Knight of Westlock, 8 up instead of 9 up to dodge, because versus the Azrain Defender, and 3 armor, 10 health, 5 dice of damage. That's kind of a big thing for him. We need that damage down. So we're going to throw in 2 Knight of Westlocks. Royal Archer. I like Royal Archer, piercing 1 with 4 dice of damage. However, range is really not the point of this deck, and I feel like our Priestess is probably going to be toe-in-toe with our creatures, which aids itself with the fact that she can heal all the time, so she's not afraid to get down and dirty. Let's see, we'll move on for some. I'm going to pass on the Royal Archer. Smandriel, Angel Light. Let's talk about the 3 angels here, right here. We have the Angel Light, which, they all have Aegis. She does 5 dice of damage with a 7-up daze, 11-up stun. But you have, compare her to Valshala, who, and they cost the same amount, right? Pretty sure they cost, yeah, they're basically sisters. She's all about lightning versus holy damage, and every time a creature dies, she gains the melee plus X. The question is this mage ever going to have time to cast these larger creatures? Knight of Westlock only costs 13, while Valshala is 21. That's basically a whole turn of not casting anything just to be able to throw her down. I think the focus on this deck is not just one large creature, but it's multiple medium-high creatures. So we're going to pass on that. And so I guess really, we could do Guardian Angel, but we're not really afraid of taking the beating to the face. So I'm gonna pass on her. And Grey Angel's pretty solid. He does 4 dice of damage, has the chance to heal the mage for 6, which just kind of adds to everything. He costs 12. When you compare him to Knight of Westlock, he does have 2 armor. Well, Knight of Westlock only had 1. No, I think Knight of Westlock had... Okay, Knight of Westlock had 3. So compare that 3 and 10 versus our Grey Angel here, who has 2 and 10, and he's dealing 1 less die of damage with no dodge. So you look at it like that, he does have flying. But don't really care, to be honest. So we're just we're going to pass on that. That being said, we have our 2 Knight of Westlocks. We're passing on the Archer, passing on the Angel. So overall, Azrain Clerics are 2 weak. So we're just going to throw in those Azrain Defenders, and I'm gonna place 3 in. So that sits us with 5 creatures, all of which are just like very basic, high damage, dodge chances. Like they're basic. They're there to stay alive and deal some damage while you're at it. I think 5 creatures might be solid. We'll come back to it, but I would say that is one of the main focuses. And while we're at it, we did say that, you know, you have to deal damage to the opponent. So that being said, let's go ahead and throw our Staff of Asira in there. It's solid, has a 5-up days chance, so if you are fighting an aggro mage, you know, give him 5-up days, pretty solid. And then 11-up, it does have a stun chance. Stun lock decks can be awesome. And it is ethereal, which is really nice, just in case you are fighting something that's going to be important. And +2 to non-living, not going to do you a lot of good against zombies, but it will ruin skeleton builds. So we will go ahead and throw this staff in there. Alright. So I would say, as a whole, that is pretty much our first phase. We have our Sunfire Amulet in there. We have the 2 wands that we are going to bind Minor Heal to. We have healing overall, and then we have some just really solid, strong creatures that are just meant to stay on the board and deal damage. So that being said, I think we are past phase 1 and we're on now to phase 2, which phase 1 is what does your deck do, how does it win, and then phase 2 is let's see, what was it, how can your opponent stop your plan from working. So right now our solid thing is we do one of the strongest counters to the build is basically anything that gives us finite life. So Deathlock and Poison Blood are issues. So let's go ahead and deal with our Poison Blood. Incantations. Let's go over to Arcane and Dispels. Dispels probably going to be really important in this deck because it's going to counter Poison Blood, and it's going to counter or not literally counter, but it's going to obviate any of their other plans to mess with your creatures. So I'm actually going to throw 3 Dispels in. I think that would be pretty solid for the deck. It's something it needs. Seeking Dispel, probably not necessary. Once again, this deck is not really secretive. This deck is not really about planning ahead too much. It's pretty much a hammer that also heals itself, weird enough. So yes. Poison Blood is an issue. There really isn't any way to deal with Deathlock other than running up and destroying it, except for one card that I've mentioned before, and always good call. Let's go over to Mind. Mentioned it before, Force Hammer. Force Hammer just deals a whole lot of cards. It's pretty solid. We're going to throw one in there. Deathlock comes on a field. Force Hammer's probably not going to destroy it, but it might bring it just close enough to where one of your knights or your defenders can finish it off. Or you might even end up punching yourself. Who knows? So that's basically our main ways to deal with the things that's going to prevent us from healing. So yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Let's move on to the next thing. Our creatures need to be able to... Well, actually, real quick, another thing that's solid about the deck is it needs to have that Mage Wand with the healing, so probably should have done it while I was there. Arcane and Nullifies. Nullifies will be important for it'll be important for preventing dissolves, but basically mainly dissolves. So we're going to throw in a I think just yeah, incantations. That's not the right place. Enchantments. I think, let's see, we'll go with 1. I don't think I'm going to have time for 2 Nullifies, to be honest, so we'll just stick with 1. Okay, so that's going to help with, to a degree, help with them trying to dissolve the wands, help with them dissolving a Sunfire Amulet if that's an issue. Let's see, ways to mess with our creatures. Our creatures need to be able to deal damage, our creatures need to be able to get where they're going to go, and opponents constantly hindering, that's going to be an issue. So while we're still in Arcane, let's go to Incantations and go to Teleports. I mentioned before I don't like a lot of teleports in the deck. Teleports are going to be important overall, so I mean, it's going to be useful for our creatures and against theirs. Probably mostly ours. A Tanglevine will just 1 teleport for 3 mana, just gets rid of a Tanglevine. So let's go ahead and throw 2 teleports in. And yeah, that'll probably do. Alright, other ways that they can mess with our creatures, constant guards. But with 5 creatures on the field, a lot of guards is just going to be more annoying than it is actually effective, I feel. But Knight of Westlock does roll 5 dice of damage, and so I am actually going to go ahead and go to enchantments, nature, one Knight of Westlock, or even for my mage if I need to run around, Mongoose Agility, Elusive. I think this is a deck that will use that. We'll just throw in one. And it's pretty solid. Let's see. So, other ways that they can deal with our creatures. A lot of guards. We only have 1 elusive, so the rest of it is just hammer through the guards, I guess, is really the way to counter that. Teleporting can also help. Let's see. You know, I've mentioned it before. Let's just go ahead and throw in for kind of a one-time use. It's cheap and it's effective. I've mentioned before that I like it. I'm going to throw it in again. Knockdown. Just one. Let's see. You know, they summon big creatures to mess with our knights. We could add in sleep, and sleep could be useful because basically we're playing the creature game where we try to have more medium-sized creatures on the board than they can keep up with. So if they counter with like a buddy build, sleep could be useful. Once again, keeping with the mind that it can just be knocked off, but weird enough, if you defend with one of your creatures, you're actually preventing that from happening. In this game, this deck versus the previous one I built, the Jotari Beastmaster, this deck does play a little more long game. I will throw in a sleep. It is expensive, so there's a high chance that I'll take it out. Alright, anything else that they can really do to mess with our creatures? Curses, that's what dispels are for. You know, constantly moving around, teleporting could be an issue, and I've mentioned it before, I am a fan of, where are you at? You are a War Spell? Yes, War Spell, charge. Similar to the deck I did before, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to throw in just 1 charge, because the way I look at fast is if you're not playing a buddy build, or if you're not playing a solo mage build, you're probably only going to need the fast quality once. And once you get in their face, they're not going to really go too far away from you. And if they do end up teleporting 2 spaces away or whatever, they're basically just delaying the inevitable. So at that point, you'd just be running after them. So we'll throw in a charge, and it might be good for a surprise. Plus one extra die, plus 1 melee is pretty nice. Let's see. While we're still at this phase, anything else that can mess with our build? Can't really stop the healing other than the Poison Bloods and the Deathlock, so I don't think that's an issue. We've already gone over that. Yeah, okay. None of our creatures have piercing or anything like that, so multiple creatures attacking a guy with armor can be an issue. So I'm going to... This deck is feeling a little bit like the last one I did, but that's fine. I am, while we're here, dissolves. I'm going to do 2 dissolves. I usually run 2 dissolves. It's pretty solid. So we'll do that, and then we'll go, while we're still at water, we'll go to attack and the acid balls. 1 or 2 is the question. Usually 2 acid balls is a good call, and I'm gonna stick with that because that much armor can be an issue for us. So we'll do that. Anything else that messes with our build? Armor has been established. Defend is defense is fighting a Force Master against multiple creatures. That if you're trying to do 5 dice of damage with multiple creatures and they keep blocking, that gets or dodging, that gets really annoying. So ways of getting rid of that. We'll go to conjurations. Nature, I've mentioned it a million times before. Tanglevine's good. I'm only going to do 1 this time, and instead we'll go to mind, and we'll enchantments. Force hold. We'll do one. Question is, should we add the Force Crush in? I feel that we're going to end up having the mana, so upkeep 4 is not a bad idea. The +2 damage every time. Basically, the way you could look at it is Force Hold has an upkeep of 3, while Force Crush has an upkeep of 4, and so for paying 1 extra mana every turn, you're doing 2 damage, 2 direct damage that can't be countered any other way. Is going to cost 7 to throw on a mage, and yeah, it's 6 to put in. That's a bit too pricey, I feel. I will throw. Let's see, we have 1 Force Hold, 1 Tangle Bond. That's probably good enough. Yeah, I would say that's good enough. If at that point that they're really out dodging me, then I probably have other concerns rather than just keeping them in place. So yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Anything else I can think of? Ways to counter our build? Let's see. Buddy builds we've gone over. Solo mage builds we've gone over. Mass creature builds. Can they do stuff that, I mean, besides multiple guards? Other than that, no, they're not going to be able to do a lot to actually counter my build. Yeah, I guess other medium creature builds similar to this one. Basically, at that point, it becomes a game of chess and trying to outplay your opponent by cleverly placed spells. So I think we're good. I think we're good on phase 2, and we can move on to phase 3. How does my opponent win? I think we've already. I feel like solo builds we've already gone over. Force Master, Tanglevine, Force Hold. It's kind of weak sauce, but it'll probably do the job. Any strong equipment build, we have 2 acid balls, we have the dissolve, so armor is really not an issue. So that's good. Buddy builds, basically against a buddy build, I'm just going to try to out damage my opponent and heal myself, so that's not an issue. I think swarm builds are probably our biggest enemy here, and I really have, other than my healing, I have actually no way to defend my mage. So let's talk about equipment, shall we? Let's first go to the holy section. Let's see, Crown of Protection. Actually, while we're at it, Crown of Protection is pretty good. I don't think my creatures are going to need the extra armor. You know, we'll throw in a Crown of Protection, and with the consideration of taking it out. Dawnbreaker Ring, if I am dealing holy damage, as a possibility. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. But, you know, we'll go and throw it in. Problem is, I feel like I don't have enough time to cast the equipment that's just kind of doing little good for me. But I suppose if I saved up the mana, Dawnbreaker Ring only cost 3, Azrain Defender only cost 8, so, or is it 9? Either way, I can probably pull those both off. Yeah, I could probably pull them both off in one turn. So, Ring of Azira, no, we don't really. Well, actually, if we're going to be casting a healing spell every turn, Ring of Azira is actually really good here. Yeah, it is. Anyway, on to the whole reason we came here in the first place. Equipment. Let's see, we'll go to Fire. Usually I do rely on the Dragon Scale Hauberk. In this instance, I think I don't really want that much equipment. What am I looking at? 3 enchantments, 7 pieces of equipment. Oh, I'm kind of surprised by that. In that case, we'll go, let's see, Dragon Scale or Stormdrake Hide. Air wizards are pretty common, very common, in fact, and fire spells. I mean, they're both very common, so it's always really like a tough choice between the two. And they're what, level 1? You know what? I'm actually, with the consideration of taking out, I'm going to do both. Heck, why not? And if one does get destroyed, that's fine, because I'll have, you know, if the Stormdrake Hide gets destroyed by the wizard, I'll just throw on the Dragon Scale in return. So that's fine. And then, as I've mentioned before, I always think it's a good choice to throw in an elemental cloak. So it's a little equipment build, a little quippy. Kind of not really my intent, but looking at it overall, it makes sense. It works. So let's see. So yeah, rushing me down with lightning and fire won't exactly work. Multiple creatures. I have some armor, but while we're at it, one of the cool things that holy mages get. Where are you at? Divine Protection. Aegis 1 is just so good. Aegis 1 is good. I mean, like, you gotta look at it. Aegis 1 is going to take away a die, which is kind of like having armor, except for it can't be reduced by piercing. And if you're getting swarmed by multiple creatures, that's multiple dice of damage that they are not getting every single turn that they try to attack you. So it's really solid. You know, I might even be so crazy as to add another one. I have creatures I can throw it on, so why not? Yeah, we'll throw on 2 Divine Protections. Yeah, that's pretty good. So, multiple creatures swarm. At this point, I feel like I'm starting to, you know what? There is one other thing I can think of. Enchantment. Nope, actually, I lied. Everybody, I lied. War. And defend. I have many creatures that I can block with. Defend just makes a lot of sense. And defend basically will read save your mage from so much X damage depending on what creature is attacking, and at the same time, and deal 5 damage to your opponent if you cast it on a Knight of Westlock. It's also good for keeping your creatures alive. If they focus fire on one creature and it lives, you can defend with a different creature, and it gives you time to heal. If that is going to be your thing. So, lockdown builds, if they're holding you down, I don't think you really care. Yeah, I mean, just stay in one place and hit them back. Yeah, so multiple creatures, medium-sized creatures are just kind of countered by my medium-sized creatures. Solo builds, force push builds. I do have some armor that does help, but I'm always a fan of throwing these in. So let's go ahead and throw in those Eagle Claw boots. It'll be good if I get walled off, and it will mostly be good if I'm fighting a Force Master or a Druid, or even a Wizard or Beastmaster. Basically any of those ones that can push you through a wall of thorns. I mentioned this a lot because in my current meta I've seen it a decent amount, and I've seen it, I've used it in tournaments, so I know it's a viable strategy that people use. And Druid's kind of strong right now, so I'll keep those in. Alright, so we've gone over phase 3, and at this point we just have to consider what we're going to do for phase 4. Basically just cards that are nice to have in. We have some decent healing. There was one that I saw that I did want to add in while I was at it. Has some preemptive healing. Basically, healing charm, the benefit of it is, although it costs the same amount as a minor heal does, and it only heals you for 4 instead of 5, it basically, if you want to get that preemptive healing on and you have nothing else to do with your turn, 2 mana, you throw on healing charm, and it will allow you to heal yourself later on. Also, you can throw it on a creature, and when the opponent goes in for the final strike, you suddenly reveal you have a healing charm, and it doesn't kill the creature, hopefully, because you healed yourself 4 dice of damage, and basically ruins their whole plan because they were expecting that attack to finish off the creature then. So I'm gonna throw in, I'm getting kind of crazy on healing. I'll throw in 1 more, and this makes also a total of 2, and this makes my cost 100, so I'm even as far as things go right now. So while we're at it, other holy enchantments and incantations, important to note, because we do have we are a priestess, so we can gain that life off of it. Armor Ward. It will cost 3 to throw into my deck, and it will be nice because I do have a lot of equipment. This could be a preemptive thing against them trying to destroy my Mage Wands. if they do dissolve one Mage Wand, basically you can try to throw in a Nullify to counter them destroying the Mage Wand. If you don't get that, if you don't manage to pull that off and they do destroy Mage Wand, next turn you do Armor Ward and Mage Wand. Because they probably expect that you're going to cast another one, which means there's a good chance that they have another dissolve in their hand for the next turn. So you surprise them with Armor Ward, and suddenly it would cost an additional 4 mana. Mage Wand costs 5, so it's going to cost them 9 mana, and that's pretty much their entire turn. So if they want to, if they are dedicated to the bit, then they'll destroy it. Otherwise, you just keep your stuff on. We'll throw in an Armor Ward. Hopefully with the idea that I'll actually have time to cast it. I mentioned that a lot, having time to cast it. Basically, the way I look at it is every game is going to last 8 to 12 rounds. That's just generally how my games go. So this one is more of a long game. It's going to go 12 rounds probably all the time, if not more. Hopefully not like 16 or 20 rounds, because at that point I failed in doing my job. If all I'm doing is healing and nothing else, it's just a pain. So anyway, I'm going to expect 12 rounds. And that being said, that means that I have 12 quick casts, 12 full actions, and that's what I mean by do I have time. I have extended the game to that 12 rather than 8 or 10. But the reason I've extended is because I'm also spending actions healing myself, which doesn't necessarily actually mean that I'm giving myself more actions. I guess it's giving me an extra full action, but do I really want to waste that casting, weak sauce enchantments that I could otherwise be hitting them in the face with? So anyway, Divine Intervention is really awesome. It can be used to mess up buddy builds. Overall, I just don't think, I mean, it costs 3 to put in. I just don't think that it fits in the deck. It's not what the deck is about at all. Let's see, Divine Might, Ethereal, not a huge deal. I can use it on my Mage Wand, or the Staff of Asira gives me Ethereal. So Divine Might is not super important. It is really cheap, however. I'm going to throw it in there just because I can throw it on a Knight of Westlock and just start ruining incorporeal conjurations and creatures. So it's always really strong just to have in there. Let's see, Divine Protection already went over, Healing Terminated, Pacify. I don't like Pacify, I'll be honest. I mean, if the creature gets 2 attacks off, then it starts to pay up for itself. What am I at? I'm at 100. I'm at 104 right now. I'm gonna pass on Pacify. I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like it's a waste of an action. That's really what it is. And it's not actually going to stop them from attacking you. Like if you cast it on a big creature, they're still going to swing in. They're still going to pay the 2. You can cast it on a small creature, but if you cast it on a creature that costs 5, you almost paid as much mana as their creature did just to obviate that enchantment. So plus they can defend with the creature. It doesn't stop them from working. So anyway, Pacify, not a big fan of. Incantations, while we're still in Holy, we went over this, we went over that. Purify, we don't need. Renewing Rain. We actually have, we're not using Geyser, and I might throw one in. Removing all burn conditions from targets is pretty good, and healing up to 2. This costs 3 to put in the deck. I'm not a fan of Renewing Rain in this case, so I'm going to pass on it. Resurrection, I only have 2 Knight of Westlocks, so a Resurrection is not a bad idea. But to be perfectly honest, why would I not just throw another Knight of Westlock in? Yeah, so I'm going to pass on Resurrection, and if I'm really worried about having creatures on the field, I'll just put more creatures in my deck, because that's cheaper than casting Resurrection, and cheaper to put it in my deck than putting Resurrection in. So that's as far as Holy that goes. Let's go ahead and throw some attack spells in, just because. Blinding Flash, good if you're getting sworn by multiple creatures, because giving them all daze and stun. The way I look at Holy spells is they're generally, since we're not playing a priest, Holy spells aren't really going to really kill the things that we're trying to cast our attack spells at, but they're really good for just messing them up for a turn, giving them daze and potentially stun. I will throw a Blinding Flash in. Pillar of Light. I mean, geez, 4 up daze, cool. 11 up stun, not very high chances. 1 in 6. I think with this Staff of Viscera, I pretty much have that covered. I'm going to pass on Pillar of Light. If I really want an attacking spell, I'm going to choose something else and pay the extra spell points to throw it in. Holy attack spells are kind of weak right now, so hoping the Paladin, the new Paladin build or expansion will fix that and throw something in that's actually worthwhile. Let's see. We'll check it out. I doubt I'm going to throw anything in. But Dark Incantations. Drain Soul. No. Enchantments. Curses, maybe. Drumluck's Touch. Agony is good for. I mean, Agony is going to cost 3 to put in. I think it's just one of those moments where I'm just going to pass on all the curses. I don't see any reason like Ghoul Rot. No, definitely not Ghoul Rot. Enfeeble slows down a creature and pretty much makes it worthless. But I have the teleports and a Force Hold for that. Not to mention just a swarm of creatures that are hard to deal with. So, no for Dark. Let's see. What else would be nice? We'll go to Mind Enchantments. Charm, Decoy, no. Force Hold, we already went over. Force Hold, Fumble, not worried. I'm not going to have the time to cast those, so no. Incantations really quick. Force Bash is another way to deal with guards. You're going to, if you Force Bash the creature into the wall, and they'll fall down in that zone, also knocking another creature down, which gets rid of two guards, and deals 3 damage to boot. However, I don't think it fits in the deck. We have 2 teleports, but Force Push is always just nice to have in case they run a wall build, and also it's cheaper to throw in than a teleport and gives me just one more option of battlefield control. So I'll throw in 1 Force Push. Force Wave can move all my creatures at once. The problem is I see myself being at the back corner a lot by my side of the field, which means that I'm not going to be 1 space away from my creatures because my back is going to be to the wall, so Force Wave is not going to be very useful. We already, let's see, we did add Sleep In? Question, did we? We did add Sleep In. And that's it for that. Let's go to Nature Enchantments. Barkskin can't do. Bear Strength is really good to have on our creatures. You throw it on a Defender of Sierra, and suddenly they're basically Knight of Westlock with slightly lower stats. Just annoying enough that like they're annoying to kill. So we'll throw on a Bear Strength. Let's see, Cheetah Speed we already went over, don't really need it, more than 1 turn. Cobra Reflexes, giving my mage a defense could be nice, but I have the healing, so I don't really think it's necessary, and all my other creatures actually have defenses, so Cobra Reflexes does me really no good. Eagle Wings. I don't have any flying creatures right now, which means if my opponent walls themselves in, that would be really annoying, but giving a Knight of Westlock wings would be pretty nice. Also enabled me to hit flying creatures. So, you know, I think Eagle Wings is actually a strong choice here. It costs 4, but meh. Falcon Precision, didn't we already add that in? I'm pretty sure I already added that in. Hawkeye Unnecessary, Lion Savagery, Mongoose Agility. No, you know what? Falcon Precision I didn't add in. Mongoose Agility I did. It's just not really, for multi-creature decks, it's just really not that worth it. Regrowth adds more healing to me. At that point, that's just annoying, and I don't really need it because I already have a lot of healing, so I'm not going to bother with it. Rhino Hide gives me armor, can give my creatures armor, only costs 2 to put in a deck, so yes. I don't think there's anything in Incantation. No, there's not. Rails the Beast, actually. Rails the Beast reads spend 3 mana on Knight of Westlock, and he deals 5 dice of damage. I'll throw in a Rails the Beast. I'll say that puts me down to 2. Is there anything I feel like I'm really missing? I guess an attack spell. Which means if I only have 2 points left, the only attack spells I'm really going to be able to do are Flame Blast or Arc Lightning. It's still pretty solid. They have unavoidable creatures. Flame Blast could be good. Ethereal, I already have 2 ways of dealing Ethereal, so Arc Lightning is not really good. So, Flame Blast. It feels weird. You know, I'm just going to throw it in real quick, and we'll have other considerations. Let's see. Anything else I can think of? I don't really take a good look at conjurations. You know, I don't have any mana crystals. And I'm not running spawn points, so Harmonize isn't really worth it. A mana crystal would cost 2 to throw in. I'd be generating 11 a turn. If a Assyrian Defender cost 8, that means that I'd have 3 mana left over every turn. 3 mana is, with the ring, minor heal cost 5, so I'll be 1 point short. So 1 mana crystal won't help there. Although 3 mana is enough to help with enchantments. I have a lot of like 3 mana spells. Since I have a lot of 3 mana spells, that mana crystal is probably going to be worth it. Let's talk about my opening real quick. Opening would be something like a Sunfire Amulet mana crystal. A Sunfire Amulet mana crystal is pretty strong. Following that is probably just a creature. Yeah, I mean, start off strong and defense heavy. Although I could do equipment. I think my opening is actually going to be really based off of what my opponent does. Mana crystal, Sunfire Amulet, turn 1 always. Let's see, Sunfire Amulet costs 5 to cast? Is that correct? Am I correct in this? Where you at? There you are. 6. So it costs 6 to cast. Mana crystal would cost 5. That would cost so that's a total of 11. So that'd be turn 1, turn 2. I'm generating 11, and I had 9 left over from last round. So I immediately start with 20 mana again. That's pretty powerful. I mean that means that I can start off with the creatures. The creatures like right away. I think mana crystal is a good choice. Yeah, plus the game's going long, so that extra mana generation is going to be important. So we'll throw in 1. Conjurations, Arcane, Mana Crystal. Oh, by the way, Mana Crystal over Mana Flower, over Moonglow Amulet, over Harmonize. Harmonize is garbage on your character because you have to pay 6 to do Moonglow Amulet. I have a decent amount of equipment, which means I have a saturation of equipment, which is good. It means less things to be destroyed, but nobody's going to dissolve a Moonglow Amulet. It's just a waste of time. But once again, it costs 6, and also people generally don't destroy mana crystals because they're just a pain. And mana flowers are easier to one-shot, and if you can one-shot a mana flower, it's worth the action. If you can't, suddenly it starts regenerating itself, and then it's actually a waste of time. However, mana crystal I think is a strong choice, which means I have to take out 2. Yeah, I probably have holes in this deck, but I'm not really too concerned about it. We'll just post this as it is, and we'll see where we go from there. But let's first get rid of something for 2. I could get rid of a Dispel. I don't know if that's a good idea. I could get rid of one of the Dragon Scale or the Stormdrake Hide. Could get rid of a heal. So you have 3 heals. I think getting rid of a heal is a strong choice. Once again, if I'm spending that many turns healing, then I'm not spending those actions actually doing anything productive. Basically, the healing is, I keep talking about how healing is not productive. In Mage Wars, healing is a viable strategy because it's actually generally more mana efficient than attacking. The one exception being, let's see, Invisible Fist I think does as much damage as it costs. I could be wrong on that. But definitely Hurl Rock is mana efficient because it does as much damage as it costs in mana. Other than that, you're generally not making up for that damage, except for burn tokens. Burn tokens could turn that around. Anyway, so healing is a viable strategy because it is actually mana efficient, and you can use it on your creatures and yourself, which keeps them alive, which overall means more damage. As long as you just don't turtle in and be a jerk, honestly, then it's not something you have to worry about. And cool, we will, no geyser, no way to deal with fire. Not happy about that. I gotta throw a geyser in. I'm gonna throw a geyser in. Okay, let's see, get rid of something for 2. Still looking at that dispel. Let's see, sleep costs 4. Sleep does cost 4. Yeah, I don't like it. I'm getting rid of sleep. We'll get rid of sleep. We will add in attack spells. Water. We'll go ahead and add in Geyser, and then I have 2 mana left over, or 2 spell points left over. And with that, I think I'm going to... Can't really think of the gaps in my deck at the moment because I'm trying to do this all off the top of my head. So I could just throw that heal back in. It's something. I think I would rather have an attack spell. And once again, I can only really throw in Flame Blast. Maybe another Rouse the Beast. I have two Knight of Westlocks, 2 Rouse the Beast, basically is an attack spell, if you look at it that way. I will throw in another Rouse the Beast, with the idea that I'm probably actually going to be using them on my creatures as I cast them. So, yeah, that's the deck. That is the deck as a whole. This is the Lifewell Mage. Basically, every turn Sunfire Amulet and casting a heal spell on yourself is going to gain you life, as well as keep you alive. And basically, you just become a big sack of hit points, and while doing that, your creatures and your staff are finishing the job. It's pretty straightforward, not very subtle at all. But then again, sometimes you don't need to be. So, yeah, that's the Lifewell Mage, or the Lifewell Priestess. I hope you enjoyed, and feedback appreciated, and we'll see you next week.